Hello and welcome to the Oddschecker Cheltenham Festival preview. This is the Thursday preview, and thank you very much to the Sydney Armors for hosting us, London's racing pub. Definitely recommend coming down here on a day of the festival if you haven't before. It is a lot of fun, I can vouch for that. Before we get into Thursday's racing, just to let you know that we are giving away 5 £100 Amazon vouchers on the Thursday of the festival. To enter the competition, simply place any £1 or more bet via the Oddschecker app on that day to be in with a chance to win. Here joining me are our 3 experts, Tony Calvin, Andy Holding and Neil Channing. Neil is from Betting Emporium, a pro punter, our very own tipster at Oddschecker, Andy, and racing journalist and broadcaster and tipster. I'm not going to mock you this time.
No, you far away. Are we allowed to swear, actually?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, right, sorry.
It's good you said that on camera, though. It's perfect.
I must have, I was about 5 words in on Tuesday, wasn't I? I haven't been swear since, though.
You've done very well so far.
Yeah, I have. Don't push it, though.
On to Thursday now, a week today, and we're recording just after midday on the Thursday, the week before Cheltenham, so we hadn't had the 5-day decks. We don't know necessarily what the ground is going to be, but if you've listened to the Tuesday podcast or watched the video, the feeling at the moment is it's going to be soft at best and likely heavy. First race of the day is the Marsh Novices Chase. Allaho is at the top of the market at 9-2, and the horse that you've put up, Itchy Feet, is 5-1. Mr. Fisher, 7-1. Faheen, 8-1 with Hills. That's not non-run, no bet. 7-1 best with that promotion. Sam Crow, exactly the same. And then Easy Game, 11-1, 12-1 Bar. Andy, given that you've put up Allaho here, we'll come to you first.
Yeah, well, we've certainly found out one thing, or learnt one thing about that, is that connections of Allaho don't read the Oddschecker column that I write, because I wrote a concise reasonings why I thought Allaho should be running in the Marsh, and then about 2 weeks later, Connection said, oh, we're going for the RSA, which completely contradicted everything I thought. I thought he just looked tailor-made for the race, you know, Sir de Champ, York Hill, Vator, Black Hercules, all top-class 3-milers, stroke 2.5-milers from the same yard. It's a race that he does really well in, and what I've seen of Allaho so far this season, I thought he was a real, he showed good pace in his 2 races over 2 mile 5. His time figure last time out at Fairy House is exceptionally good, and straight away I thought, God, this is a Marsh candidate.
Have you given up?
No, not at all. No, I think with all the ramifications we've talked about in previous podcasts about horses switching because of the ground conditions, I'm hoping that if it is going to be very testing, that the Connections will have a second look, or maybe decide to go for the shorter race, shorter distance.
I think
race.
if you look at the Betfair market now, I think they might have had a full.
Yeah,
it's only 5.7 to back at the moment.
Last price match 5.7 as well.
Yeah. So I'm getting more and more encouraged. And if he does run in the Marsh, I think he's got a great chance. I don't think it's a particularly strong race. We might get Mr. Fisher going away from the race as well. It's another potential one out of the way. But I think it'd be very hard to beat in the Marsh. The great thing about him is that he'll handle the ground over that trip, and he's ridden aggressively. And of course, on day 3, aggressive rides over that new course have been seen to good effect on time and time again, particularly in this race. You need to be up with the speed. You need to be jumping well out of trouble. So I'll be very keen on him, and I don't think he's necessarily the kind of horse to slug it out against the likes of Minella Indo and Copperhead in the 3-mile RSA. He's already been beaten twice by Minella Indo. It's another reason why I think that they may be making a mistake taking him on again. So in an ideal world, I'd want him to run not against my pick, Minella Indo in the RSA, and to come here and run in the Marsh, and then that would be perfect utopia.
Another related double we've got coming on here.
Yeah, I think we need to ban those entries. It's not going to go down too well. Allaho 4-1, no bet with 365 and Sky.
We have to have editorial independence, George. Come on.
Correct, very true, Tony. I'll come to you now, and that's me expressing my editorial independence.
Yes, I'd like to put up a related double. No, I think the race doesn't make much appeal to me. I don't see much depth to this, like Andy said. I was quite taken by Itchy Feet last time. Obviously, the price has just ebbed away. It's a similar price to Andy's selection as well at the moment. I think it's about 5-1 at the time of recording. I think that's fair enough. Am I really taken by the race? Not really. If you ask me for the most likely winner, I'd probably say Itchy Feet, but without any betting recommendation.
Perfect. Neil?
I haven't spoken to Tony about this race, but I pretty much agree 100% with what you said. I'm almost certainly going to back Itchy Feet. You know, I like that stable, and I think, yeah, it was well back last time, wasn't it? And it came there and looked pretty good, I thought. This race could easily cut up.
Yeah.
I actually think kind of 5-1 right now is, I don't know what price it is, non-runner no bet, but I think given that the race could cut up, I think it's got some potential to shorten. You know, this is a race where people, the favourite in this race is normally in the sort of 5-2, 9-4 region. It's not a 5 the field race generally.
When you've got Sam Crow in as a third or fourth favourite,
yeah.
you're kind of thinking,
absolutely.
Let's play.
So I think I probably have to do that at some stage. But I haven't done anything in it yet, and yeah, that's probably on my list of bets I've been meaning to have for a day or two. But
another one,
be
so
a
the price isn't
huge
going to hold
one.
up then.
Yeah, I would play win only at this stage. Even though I think the race might cut up, I don't really want to rush to take horses for Thursday, you know, in the non-handicaps each way.
You want to stop having these 5-hour lunches like you had yesterday.
That was probably the mistake, actually. That was probably.
I said, if you had looked,
Was he out?
Well, you know, I just had a bit of a nice restful, relaxing life.
5 hours? Did you fall asleep for 4 or something?
I was a bookmaker I haven't seen for a while, so yeah.
Perfect. Probably not Denise. Itchy Feet 9-2. Non-run no bet is the best price. We'll move on now, nice and quick that one, to the Pertemps, where Relegate is the 7-1 joint favourite along with Phoenix Way and the Storyteller. Sarge Burley 8-1, Welsh Saint 10-1, Skanderberg 12-1, 16-1 for a few. I mean, 16-1 bar. There's obviously plenty in there at the moment before the 5-day decks. Andy again. Well, I'll put it to the floor. This one really. Anyone who fancies kind of anything they fancy and want to put up.
Yeah, I'll go first if that's okay with the boys. Yeah, it's interesting that these qualifiers, only 2 horses that have won qualifiers have won the final in the last 23 years.
Yeah.
So it tells you that you need to be looking a little bit further down the field. And the race that I like to concentrate on, as I always do, is that Irish qualifier run at Leopardstown on Boxing Day. It's produced the winner the last 2 years, both trained by Gordon Elliott, Delta Work and Sir de Burley last year, who got a nice ride into 6th. And mirroring that performance this year was the Storyteller, who also finished 6th behind Traces in a Scorthy. Dealing with him individually, prior to that he'd won at Clonmel, beating 2 very good horses who've both gone on to win subsequently, including Total Recall, who won the Thyestes Chase next time out, so he's beaten them up. He's rated 159 over fences, 3rd behind Ken Boy and Album Photo at Punchestown Festival, genuine Grade 1 form. Cheltenham Festival win as well when he won the handicap a few years back. And he looks as though he's got his preparation absolutely perfect. He's in off about 149 with his readjusted English rating. So I'll be very, very keen on him. And I'm just keen on that race in particular. It was a day where it was perfect. It was perfect. It was a perfect storm, really. You had 2 3-mile races over the same course and distance. One of them was a Grade 1, which Apple's Jade won. The other one was the handicap, which Traces in a Scorthy won. So I've got my two screens up there on in front of me, my banker tellies, and set them off as they jumped the first hurdle in the back straight and stopped them at the line. And the distance that Traces in a Scorthy beat Apple's Jade was absolutely phenomenal. It was literally half the length of the running.
Really?
So straight away I'm thinking, well, either that Pertemps qualifier is the best handicapped I've seen all season, or Apple's Jade is totally gone. And the fact that Apple's Jade got beat next time out at Gowan, probably somewhere in between. I don't think she's the force she was.
No.
But what it did tell you is that virtually the whole field beat the likes of Apple's Jade, Penn Hill, Bacardi's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Harry. So it also has told me something about the Stayers Hurdle, which I'll talk about as well, without boring everyone to death a little bit later on, because that's the next race I think we're going to cover. But I'll be very keen on backing as many horses as I can out of that qualifier if they get into the final. But my number 1 choice would definitely be the Storyteller, and I'd say he'd probably be one of my strongest views, if not the strongest view of the whole week.
Possible nap of the week there for Andy Holding, the Storyteller 7-1 for the Pertemps. Neil, coming to you now. How do you follow that?
I love this race actually, and it's a race I generally get quite stuck into. I looked at that race as being quite key. I mean, it is a qualifier obviously, I haven't backed Storyteller yet, although I feel like I've got to now. I went for A Great View, which was 6th in this race last year, and
he ran in that qualifier.
he was in that qualifier,
Yeah.
and he finished 3rd, I think.
No, he finished 3rd in the qualifier next time out at Fairy House.
Oh yes, you're right. Yes,
Behind. I can't remember. His name.
I was about to say,
Mary Francis.
Here we
go.
Mary Francis. But he was
Any
down,
horse, any time, any form, eh?
Yeah, he was down the field that day at Leopardstown, although he didn't
Yeah.
run too badly.
and so I've stuck him in at a big price, but my main bet is Relegate, which is Willie Mullins' horse, won the bumper in 2018. And that was in that qualifier and finished 4th in the Punchestown qualifier. He's running off 137, which is I think a little bit higher than maybe some people that like to moan about those things, the Irish English stuff. Think it ought to be, but
Come back to me when your horse gets beaten neck, carrying £4 more.
I tend to not worry too much about that kind of thing. I think you're right. Like if you get beat in the qualifier, it can often be a good thing. And obviously there's a lot of shenanigans going on in those kind of races. But I have actually also bet the winner of the qualifier, Silver Screen.
I've got some bad news for you.
Did you know the stat?
I've got some very bad news for you.
It seems to have suddenly. I'm just looking on the exchange now.
I
bet it not run a no bet.
I haven't actually. I backed it at 16 Hills last week, and I was told in this very place last night, a certain trainer let slip that another trainer had told him that Silver Sheen's out, and I just thought it was, when I looked this morning, it was still 13 to back, 14 to lay. I thought, well, perhaps the guy was mistaken. Then I've just looked, and it's kind of just been scratched.
Yeah, it looks like it's not in the market.
So
It's not there. Yeah, it's not there.
So
Scrap that one.
I'm currently sulking.
Anything else? We've got to move
Well,
on.
the other qualifier, of course, is at Warwick, which people often look at, and there's a couple of interesting ones. I'll go quick because I know you want to move on. There was one in that. As soon as I've put up a non-runner, Stony Mountain of Henry Daly's. It was 5th in that qualifier. I mean, generally, obviously, finishing sort of 5th and 6th in those qualifiers is somewhat interesting. And yeah, I just sort of thought that would be a bit of a kind of a slogger that would, if we
20 to 1.
Quite tough situation at Cheltenham. I quite like that.
So 20 to 1 across the board. Stony Mountain Relegate 7 to 1, joint favourite along with Andy's The Storyteller.
I've actually played Relegate really quite strong each way, but I am going to now save on The Storyteller because Andy's convinced me.
Tony?
No,
Nothing.
not for me.
Perfect. That's
Sulking.
exactly what I wanted to hear.
Sulking.
The Ryanair next. A Plutard. What a race this looks like. A Plutard is 9 to 4. Min 3 to 1. Frodon, last festival's hero. 6 to 1. Riders on the Storm, a horse that Andy's put up, is now 8 to 1. And then kind of 12 to 1 bar with a few horses below who probably won't be turning up in this one. So Andy, given that you've tipped up Riders on the Storm, we'll come to you first.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that he'd run well at Ascot and perhaps finish 2nd or maybe 3rd to Surname, accepting defeat, not running too badly, getting the nice prize money for finish 2nd in a Grade 1, and come here fresh and well and ready to run in the Ryanair. But unfortunately, he went and won, but in doing so, he had a brutally hard race.
Wasn't it?
He was absolutely out of his feet. I'm not sure he would have won actually, even if Traffic Fluid would have stood up. So that really was his Ryanair or his Grade 1 in the season. So I've got a sneaky feeling that he might not be as fully effective in the Ryanair. I hope I'm proven wrong.
Anyone kind of having a look through now and seeing your tip there, would you probably say hold off that 8 to 1?
I mean, most people have backed it already, so we've still got a free bet. We've got a runner anyway at least, which is great. Look, I think this is a straight match between the Min and
between the top two.
The Plutard. They've both done some fantastic times this season. I actually think a Plutard would go very close if you're running the Champion Chase, and if it was soft or heavy, they might even still think of that. But he's a talented horse, a Plutard. I mean, when he won the Close Brothers last year, he was the biggest wide margin winner of the week.
Do you think the ground kind of makes you think maybe more against Min and with a Plutard?
Possibly, yeah. I think they're both very versatile when it comes to ground. this will be obviously on day 3 as well, so it'll be on a different course, fresher
Yes,
ground. We
yeah.
don't know how much it's either dried up or slowed up as the week goes on. But as it stands here, I think the betting's about right. Some people argue that Min should be favourite because he's got a better record over a longer period of time, and he's got more solid Cheltenham form in Grade 1s, and you could make a case out for that as well. But I just prefer Plutard. There's something about him. I just think he gets the job more often than Min does. If I'm not being too harsh on Min, and I'm one of Min's biggest fans. I think I've probably backed him every year he's run at the festival.
I think it's every year he's won.
Yeah,
so,
no.
You get him just right.
No,
Andy,
he's always one to consider, but he did run badly last year for one reason or another. So that's slightly a dampener on him. But yeah, I think a Plutard will probably win, but I'm hoping for my sake that at least Riders on the Storm has recovered well enough to run well.
Tony, have you cheered up?
No. No, it's fine. Wouldn't have won anyway, would it? I think the market is right, and when the market's right, I tend to pretty much switch off. I mean, I'd favour a Plutard over Min, but there's
That's
nothing.
what the market's doing, isn't
There's
it?
nothing really in the prices. I'd be against Frodon. I was a big fan of Riders on the Storm, but as everyone saw at Ascot, that must have taken a hell of a out of him. He was a hell of a lot out of him. He wouldn't have beat Traffic Fluid. The one I'm coming back to, obviously last year's second, is ASO. If you're looking for an each-way bet, I think ASO has had a break. Hasn't been at his best this season. Has had a break. The stable of coming back to a bit of form. I think the ground will be fine. The problem is, can I see him beating a peak form a Plutard or Min? The answer is no. So I think you are just looking for the place money there. I'll wait until the day, but I probably won't get involved in that race.
I think it could cut up, and I think each way is all right in this race. And I bet ASO last year actually.
25 to 1 ASO, is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to back ASO again. It'll be too annoying if ASO.
I didn't see the running price. He must have traded pretty short.
He
last
did,
year.
yeah. I had
I'll have a look.
quite a chunk on it last year, and that was quite a sort of emotional few minutes.
Do you tend to are you a shouter and screamer and throw things, or you just? Or
I did during that one, but it's quite rare. It's pretty rare actually.
Where do you watch it all at home?
All at home, and you could. Often the dog has no idea who's winning or losing. But,
They often don't, do they?
the dog pretty much knew what was going on in that race. Don't worry about that. Duke de Ginevra, that won the
25 to 1 as
Arkle,
well.
didn't it? In whenever that was that 2 years ago?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
God, that seems a lot longer ago than that.
Yeah, of course.
I was watching Top Gun last night, right? And it was 1986.
Yeah.
34 years ago.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
Unbelievable.
I wasn't born for another 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I still cried when Goose bit the bullet.
Yeah, he's the same actor was in ER.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no one really realised.
Something
it's the same
Edwards,
bloke.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
We digress.
Very tearful.
Putting that aside for a second.
You tell me you don't like Top Gun?
I don't know. I don't mind. I just thought I was looking to try and think of something that might, be interesting each way in the race. And I've got that kind of tricky thing going on in my head where I don't like to bet horses each way they're up in trip. But it is a soft ground horse, I think. So I think I'm going to have to back that each way. And then it won't stay, and I'll lose my.
Which one was that?
A Duke de Ginevra.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because it loves Cheltenham, and I think it likes a bit of cut in the ground. So in a race that might cut up, there could easily be 8, 9, 10 runners.
Did you say that was 25's normal on a bet?
25 is
That's a really tight price because it's 26 to back,
26
27 to lay on Betfair, and that's as probably good as indicator as you're going to get if you're going to back some each way.
Yeah, and I think that can only go one way in the market as the ground softens. But I'd probably have to stick ASO in as well.
So Bet Victor, Unibet, and Marathon are the 3 firms who are currently 25s, no run, no bet.
Not 3 that are always on the phone to me, but I'll see what I can do.
On to the stayers now, and an old friend of most people's, but certainly Andy's, who sat here, well not here, but sat in this preview last year and said that Paisley Park wouldn't be beaten, and we all saw what happened next. 8 to 11, Paisley Park is best price at the moment with Bet365. Benny de Dieu is very unlikely indeed to run here, but 8 to 1 without the NRNB, or 11 to 4 I think, or 3 to 1 is the best price. With it, Summer Boy 10 to 1, Emma Tom 12 to 1, Penhill 14 to 1, City Island the winner of last year's Ballymore, 14 to 1. Basically, Paisley Park is the story here, and I guess the question is, do you take him on? Is there value at 8 to 11, or do we try and nick some place money at the other end of the market?
Yeah, I think this time last year we were believing that Paisley Park could be the next sort of Barracuda, Ingalls Drever. Such was his form and his potential going into last year's race, and I think we're going to see him dominate this division for quite a few years to come, because there doesn't appear to be any new kid on the block, certainly from UK, and the Irish stays in general have been a pretty weak bunch for quite a while now. Providing them with the Vel can just keep him sound and in the same sort of shape time and time again, then he's got a chance of, you know, doing at least another 2-3 years. He's just got a great engine, hasn't he? Great attitude. He's one of those horses that probably just always do enough. He won't go and win 20 lengths for you.
What a moment last year, though, when he
oh yeah, that surge from 2 out to the last, when you thought, oh, we're in trouble, and all of a sudden, you know, he comes sweeping by the field. Was one of the moments of the festival. The great roar, and I think him, along with the short price favourite on day one, Benny Didier, look, the two bankers, as Tony's already pointed out. It's hard to not see him winning, but I do think there's more than one way to skin a cat in a race like this, and I do like the without the favourite market. The without favourite market for this has been quite active for a little while, whereas a lot of others with odds on shots hasn't done. I've got stuck into a horse that ties in with that Pertemps qualifier that ran the best sectional out of all the horses in that race. I must have watched that Pertemps qualifier at Leopardstown the most I've watched any race.
You're a bundle of fun here, aren't you?
So,
I was watching Top Gun.
yeah, those dark winter hours just, take forever. But that race, I'm hoping will stand up quite nicely an hour or so earlier. And if so, I think Ronald Pump, who finished second, carrying 11 stone 12 as well that day. He was way behind at halfway. I actually clocked him and compared him to, I've compared him to Penhill, I've compared him to Apples Jade, I've compared him to Bacardi's. I'll be amazed if any of those three horses beat Ronald Pump. But just based on that run that day at Leopardstown, he was miles ahead of them. I mean, if I showed you the video, you literally wouldn't believe it. You'd almost think I'd missed a hurdle out. So I think he's around about 12, 14 to 1.
14 to 1.
14 to 1. Yeah. 3 places without the favourite.
And you got a fake favourite at the top, haven't you? And
yeah, I mean, you look at half the horses who are still quoted in that race. Benny Didier won't run. But you can punch holes in lots of them. I've already told you the Irish horses out of that Apples Jade race are no good. He'll beat Apples Jade, and he's a real thorough stay. This Ronald Pump. They've tried to make him into a novice chaser, but he's not overly robust and big enough. Albeit he did win well first time out at Fairy House and a good second in the Drimmoor. He had an overreach last time out behind Carefully Selected. When he took off too soon, you could see he dived at one of the ditches and he wasn't quite the same subsequently. So you can sort of put those to one side. But over hurdles, I think he's the next thing coming through in Ireland that is potentially going to sort of dominate that division if they stay over hurdles. And I wouldn't be overly keen on Somerville Boy, who got the run of the race last time out in a steadily run 3 miles. Em Tommy, he just makes too many mistakes for me.
Yeah,
he's so ignorant at his hurdles. I think at Smallfield probably be the only way I'd be interested in him, and that's not going to be the case. But I'm all over Ronald Pump. I've had to back him at sort of 50s and 40s just in case something goes wrong with Paisley. But that without the favourite market, he's my biggest winner of the week.
14 to 1 with Paddy's and Betfair. A couple of strong ones from Andy on the Thursday. Neil?
Well, that's interesting. I'm liking the sound of that. I was kind of.
We're going to have to stop this filming while Neil makes a few phone calls.
I was kind
of
of
related double storyteller.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of wondering what to do because I've got a history of never backing these short ones in the Stayers Hurdle. I don't think I ever backed big bucks. When it was favourite, I think it was second favourite one time, and I bet it each way a lot. But I think I was kind of coming round to Emerton just on the basis that in that race at Cheltenham that Somerville Boy won, I think Somerville Boy was about 6 to 1 that day, and Emerton was 5 to 2, and just ran no race. And I'm quite a big fan of just, you know, if you can put a line through a race because of a reasonable excuse, and I think we're on Great Tricks came up with a fair reason there. I think it'd been off the track a long time. And in the Haydock race, Do you ever? I mean, I'm going senile. I think I sometimes, I pause the TV because I meant to press something else on the remote, and then I watch the race, and it, I think it's like when you're watching it on at the races and it's 23 seconds behind or something. I was watching that Emerton race thinking, God, they know the result here. Like the in-running market,
I've done that before.
It seemed to be. But actually, I was watching it in real time on fairly fast pictures.
Oh,
and it did seem to me that people just kind of were very, very bullish in running, and it was pretty impressive. It's obviously a slight bit below grade of Paisley Park. It's not really a absolute top stayer, but I thought that might be quite solid each way. Warren Great Tricks' horses. You're a fan, aren't you, Tony? Because of Cole Harden. It's a different kind of horse, obviously, Emerton, but he knows what to do to win this race. I sort of thought that was the each way one for me.
12-1 with Hills, not without the non-run no bet. 10-1 NRMB, and then in the without Paisley Park market, 6-1 with Betfair and Paddy's.
Yeah, I like why he was. I was over in Ireland for the Dublin Racing Festival, and I'd had a really good go on Bob Marlow at Musselburgh. And I won't tell you exactly what I actually screamed at the top of my voice in the owners and trainers at Leopardstown, but
you're now barred from the owners.
No. It was all right actually. So I screamed at the top of my voice, and I looked down, and there was a load of kids crayoning, and I did drop a C-bomb.
Wow.
Anyway, but I was chatting. Rowan was there the next day, and I was chatting to him, and I just told him the story, and so he's a good lad. I'm not a big fan of his Emerton here. I think Paisley Park 8-11, not one to know bet with Bet365 is a good thing, isn't it? I must admit to I've laid Paisley Park at an average of 1.96 on Betfair for this race. I'm probably thinking about backing it at 1.81 and just taking my medicine. I laid it at 2.1 immediately after that race last time, thinking it wasn't overly impressive. Then you kind of like look into it a bit, and he did well to win. It was a muddling pace last time as well, wasn't it?
That's why I don't fancy Somerville Boy, because if he couldn't win going slowly and almost making it a 2.5 mile race and not being able to quicken and beat Paisley Park,
it just underlines, what Andy and other people like that do. If he focused on times, if visually to me it didn't look all that much cop, so I immediately went on and laid it at about 2.1. About half an hour later, I'm thinking, and the price had already gone, so I just left it there. But I think 8-11 is very fair. It just wins, doesn't it? Really, I can't see anything else that I want to put up against it. Listening to Andy there, I think he makes a very, very convincing case for Ronald Pump, a horse that admittedly had not been on my radar whatsoever.
Not many people
race.
have.
That's good. Well, that's
you ask most UK punters, they wouldn't even. I bet all these previews forums that hardly anyone has mentioned.
That's about to change. On now to the Brown Advisory Plate. As ever, we need to rattle through these last three in the day. Simply the bets, a horse that you mentioned earlier, Andy, is 8-1. Favourite Ben Dundee 12-1, Sepage 12-1, 16-1. A whole host of horses below. Need to rattle through this, so anything said has to be of value.
Sepage, I think he's got course form, up only £1 for win last time. Only run badly once at Cheltenham. I just think it's still handicapped to run a very big racing ground. That won't be any problem.
12-1, Sepage across the board. Andy?
Yeah, well, looking at the time comparison, simply the bets and Sepage, there was a good bit between those two. The actual overall time was in favour of Simply Bets as well. It wasn't just the final circuit. He beat Sepage every which way. But this is a bigger field, bigger environment. Sepage is used to running big fields, so there might be a switch there maybe. But that form line with Simply the Bets, Imperial Aura and on the slopes is good. Not the bet of the century at 8-1, granted, but he's the one I'm probably going to centre around. And the other one to mention is Brelan Dar, who I thought ran really well beyond Happy Diva early on in the season. Was going well when slipping badly on landing 3 out in the Caspian Caviar when still in with a good chance. I think he's another one I'd potentially have half a look at.
Brelan Dar 25-1, 8-1.
25-1?
25-1. With Hills 888, Bet365 and Boyles.
That is a mad price.
Is it
Mad
one
price.
entry, bro?
Yeah, there was talk of him going in the Grand Annual, but they've got Grenadier.
I'll just quickly check his
I
exchange
don't-
price.
Let me just have a look at the exchange.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
I don't think he's going to go for that.
There's nothing. There's nothing there. Which is a bit strange. I mean, there's 17. There's a bit of money to lay at 17, but nothing to back. So
Where's this?
Brellendar
In the plate?
for the Brown Brown advisory plate. Yeah. Anyway, Neil.
I just had a quick look at Articulum, just because it's a real soft ground horse. Tom O'Brien, third in the Arkle last year. I think it's about 25 to 1. Maybe
33 to
20.
1 with Sky Bet.
Wow, there you go. Well, I mean, I
You
wouldn't.
know anyone at Sky Bet?
Yeah, funnily enough, it's not a race. It is a race I'm going to get stuck into because it's going to be. It'll be quarter first four will be very advantageous to punters, but it's not a race I've done much in yet. But that was one that was definitely on my radar, and that'll be probably be one of the four I bet in the race.
On to the Mares Novice now. Manila Melody is the 11 to 4 favourite. Can't say the name. Lamarxy is 6 to 1, 11 to 2 NRNB. Floressa 8 to 1, Dulcita 9 to 1, Colreevy 10 to 1, 12 to 1 bar. Again to the floor.
I'm completely out of this
Andy
race.
is out.
I'm out. I'm playing the Joker.
I've had a little bit. Constatista, last year's runner-up at 16s each way, but Minetta Melody's the most likely winner. But I thought Constatista didn't show too badly last time, and I just thought 16s is a fair enough price.
I was rather hoping that might run in the county hurdle, but that's a good shout. I put that up last time I was at Leopardstown, and the guys in the Racing Post didn't pick it up, but she absolutely walked through one down the back, literally like headbutted it, and went from about 6 travelling to about 6 or 7 places further back, made the ground up. But that effort to make the ground up definitely cost her.
Okay.
So
I think the step up and trip will suit as well.
12 to 1.
she's a player.
Constatista
She's a good
currently. Neil.
I was kind of half looking at Floressa, but it was a bit unlucky last time in Doncaster, and I think it's quite a good jumper. But I don't know. When it's like heavy ground, Henderson is a stable that I sort of feel like, any time you hear him talking about his horses, it's always like they don't want rain. It would be better on good ground. We want some good ground.
But as Andy said, I think we're leaning towards soft, heavy on the first day. By Thursday, I wouldn't be so hard and fast as Andy said with the with the fresh ground as well.
Yeah.
So it's not a race I'm going to rush into at this stage, but that was one that was definitely on my radar.
Floressa 8 to 1 at the moment. Last race of the day, the MUIR, Ravenhill and Le Broy, both 10 to 1, but they are shorter in most places because that's with the hills. So around about the 8 to 1 mark if you get one non-run, no bet. At the Acorn 10 to 1, no comment 10 to 1, Dace Arbor 12 to 1, 14 to 1 bar. Last race of the day. Give us a couple of winners. Tony, coming to you first.
Haven't had a bet. I had a look at this, a good look at this last night. If I was going to have a bet, I'd probably be Dace Albert at 12s. I was quite impressed with it last time. Got a good profile, but as of the moment, I haven't had a punt. So I'm not going to recommend anything.
Andy?
2 really good stats here that you need to look at. Anything over 11 stone 4, basically the last 6-7 years, you want to be looking at a class angle. Jamie Cosgrove had 4 winners, David O'Connor 3, so again jockey booking is going to be crucial. I agree with Tony with Dacia Alba. Trevor Hemmings won it with Juvenile a few years ago, and this horse has steadily improved quite markedly. And his time figure comparison at Sandown last time out for a 3 mile 0 to 30 handicap was very good compared with the 2 mile handicaps on the card. He can operate at a good pace, this horse. He just seems to be improving at the right time as well. I think they've got his mind right. He was a bit of a loon early on. We used to wear the hood and not really finish off his races, but he just seems to have come of age. And the Hobbs team seems to have a good squad to go into the.
I heard him talking about this horse the other day, and he sounded quite bullish.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is that 3 from 3?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had a bet in the race yet. I did read one stat that I thought was. I mean, I don't know how many handicap debutants run in it every year. Probably a few, but not that many. They haven't had a handicap debutant winner since 1985.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan of backing first time in a handicap horses at Cheltenham each way because, they're a bit sort of win or come nowhere. So I'm already put off by that, but that stat definitely puts me off of those kind of horses. The King's Writ was quite an interesting one at a big price.
31.
I mean, it's just been quite solid. Josh Newman looks like an all right jockey. Rode it last 2 times, came second last 2 times. Wants proper soft ground. I think it's about, is it 25 to 1?
33s with Hills and Betfred. So yeah, I know I'm
Yeah.
with Betfred.
Brentford.
33 to 1 non-runner, no bet with
Yeah,
it.
it's a big price, that.
Yeah, I thought that was fair.
Yeah, jumps well and he's very honest, and he'll be out of the carnage as well because he's often ridden handily, if not making the running. So that's not a bad shout. That.
There you have it. That's our Thursday preview. A couple of strong selections from Andy and some good stuff as well from Tony and Neil. Thank you guys very much for being here. Make sure you check out Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday's previews. They are on all podcast platforms and on the Oddschecker YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to now.